because we rate you perfectly where.
What do you think a plant is? Maybe people don't understand the definitions of these words. And I hate to seem like a petty individual for picking apart lies, but Jussie Smollett gonna keep lying until you say we don't believe you.
Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Man, I don't know how I feel about this jacket I put on today, but was a little bit chilly, and so I put on a big coat. What do you guys think? I got my Chiefs red on, or this isn't actually a Chiefs pullover jacket, but anyway, welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Cat Williams is the perfect place to start because we're going to talk about plants and installed people, and we're going to talk about Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark, the ESPN broadcaster, he's been in a prolonged beef now with Marcellus Wiley, and I'm going to go deep on this. I'm going to explain the problem with Ryan Clark, and I'm hoping that you all, people that either like, dislike, concerned about Ryan Clark, send him this video, because Ryan Clark is, in my opinion, he's been advised to, like, hey, Ryan, Jason Whitlock is out of your weight class physically, but really where he's really dangerous is Jason Whitlock is out of your weight class intellectually. And so I say this without bitterness or anything. Ryan Clark blocked me on social media. Ryan Clark started out earlier this week bragging about he will engage with anyone, and he sat down with Michelle Tafoya, and he sat down and he talked privately with Bobby Burack, and even Outkick I'll engage with Outkick, I'll engage with Michelle Tafoya, and Marcellus Wiley won't talk with me on the phone. And so there's a tweet that he had put out where he said he'll talk to anyone. Me reading that, and I shared that with you all earlier this week, I was like, well, let me send out the invitation. I would love to talk to Ryan Clark, and I would do so respectfully, as you've seen. You've seen people come on this show and get treated with great respect, even though they disagree with me. And you've seen, take Marshall Faulk, all-time great football player. He and I had a very respectful disagreement, conversation. Warren Sapp and I do it all the time. Yeah, Warren Sapp's one of my favorite people, but anyway, it happens all the time. I can't remember the name of the, I think former Tampa Bay Buccaneer player that really had a problem with me over social media, and X brought him on the show. We disagreed, went back and forth. Who was Mark Lamont Hill and I had multiple discussions on this show, very respectful. We disagree a lot. But I let people get their thoughts out. I don't try to embarrass them. And so I sincerely extended Ryan Clark an invitation over X, re-quoting him what he said. And I said, hey, would love to have you on. I did not have high expectations because I felt like his overlords at ESPN would talk some better sense into him and let him know, like, hey, bro, I know you think you're a fighter, but we don't need you in the ring with Whitlock. That will not go well. You'll get embarrassed, and the next thing you know, you won't be as valuable of a puppet for us. I'm sure that's what Bob Iger had his underlings communicate to Ryan Clark. And so I woke up this morning trying to see if Ryan Clark had finally responded to my invitation and found out that I've been blocked and I can no longer engage with Ryan Clark's content over X and over social media. And so I was like, okay, since I'm not going to get to interview him, we're not going to get to engage, we're not going to get to man talk it out, I'll put my side of the story out here for Ryan Clark. And I started with Cat Williams specifically because I believe Ryan Clark has been installed. And I'm going to walk you through how ESPN makes a race clown, how Disney makes a race clown. And I'm going to walk you through why they do it. What's the purpose of a race clown for Disney? And this explanation is going to irritate a lot of people. Maybe it'll open up Ryan Clark's eyes and he'll understand my point of view and my perspective, or maybe he won't. Maybe he is in tune with how he's being used as a race clown, but there are people, and we're at a time of enlightenment and evolution and an awakening, that there are people that want black and white people in America, and particularly Christians. They want us at each other's throats. They want us believing that we're in a race war, a black and white color-coded race war. And when the scales ever come off your eyes, you'll see we're not in a race war. That's not the defining narrative of America, of the world, of any of this. If you believe the Bible, we're in a battle of good versus evil. We're in a battle of believers and non-believers. And there are a demographic, a segment of America and the global citizenship that rejects Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior and believe that he's somewhere burning in a vat of poop. And that particular group that believes that Jesus Christ is not our Lord and Savior, they have a lot of influence in Hollywood and in television. They have a lot of influence at the Federal Reserve in banking. That particular group keeps getting talked about by Dave Chappelle, Kyrie Irving, Kanye West, and they end up take Kyrie Irving. He tweeted out a movie that Jews did not like, and he got shut down in the sports world. And the race clowns, the people that are paid to Negro wrangle and to keep black people in prominent, high-profile positions, influencers, to keep them constantly talking about black and white people, those Negro wranglers came out and chastised Kyrie Irving. How dare you tweet out a movie poster that Jews have not signed off on? And so Kyrie Irving was given 20, 30, 40 lashes by the Negro wranglers, and everybody went back to Negro wrangling and making sure that black people think that the conflict that defines their life is a black and white conflict. And that's why you need race cons. That's why you need former football players that have spent most of their life, former athletes spent most of their life developing themselves athletically, physically, and ignoring their intellectual evolution. And you need to install them at the front of all conversations to stir the racial division. And so Ryan Clark raised his hand at some point, I believe in 2020, and said, I'll be a race clown. It pays well, and I can go on television and constantly signal to black people that their enemy is the white Christian. And so that's what he's done. And it all started in 2020. This is when me and Ryan Clark got crossways, and this is why Ryan Clark can't stand me. I'm sure wants to jump on me and beat me up, and I'm sure it's why when he had conversations last night, Bob Iger and the people at Disney told him, hey man, don't do that. Don't leave Whitlock alone. Whitlock will go places in a conversation you're not prepared for. We don't want you awakened to how we're actually using you to stir racial division, that you've been installed. Because again, these people that are installed, they don't know they're installed. They think they're soldiers in a race war and they're Harriet Tubman leading black people to freedom. No, they're clowns. They're distractions. They're there to make Christians believe that we're enemies. They're there to make people that think Jesus Christ is their Lord and Savior, well, not those people, because they're the wrong color. They're not on your team. They're not allies. And so I'm going to play a long clip from Ryan Clark. And this was his introduction or his pledging to be a race clown. This is part of his ritual to raise his hand and say, hey, pay me millions of bucks. I can be a race clown. I can stir racial division. And so Ryan Clark, and I called this out in real time 4.5 years ago when he pulled this, when everybody was doing their George Floyd gimmick, their Jussie Smollett gimmick. Ryan Clark went on television. I can't think of the name of this black host who assisted him in telling this far-fetched comical tale about the racism that his son experienced. And Ryan Clark got to crying on TV. And so you've seen me reference him before, but we've never played the full 6-minute excerpt. And I want you to listen to this and just understand how, and particularly now, you can hear the buffoonery, you can hear the lies, you can hear the exaggerations. It's almost comical, this story that gets unpacked. But this is Ryan Clark signing up to be a race clown. Play the clip.
But turn now to an important story to tell, one that's very personal to our friend Ryan Clark. Ryan's son Jordan and 2 of his Arizona State football teammates say they were called a racial slur at a Whataburger near campus. Now, due to the pandemic, this is what happened. The drive-through was the only way to order. Jordan Clark says they asked a woman driving her car if they could give her money to buy food for them. She said no because she was in a hurry. Another customer agreed to buy it for them. But while they waited for their food, Clark says, quote, the woman that we asked initially eventually got to the window and proceeded to roll down the window to ask what our problem was. We were sitting on the wall. She then filed a complaint with the manager that we harassed her and he comped her meal. She then turned to us and said in a vindicated voice, she said, thanks for the free food, N-word. Now, Clark goes on to say the store manager gave her the food. She began to drive off while saying bye, N-word. The manager was unfazed. He was quick to condemn us and tell us we were wrong, quick to threaten us and say he'd call the police. Now, Whataburger has released a statement saying, quote, we do not tolerate racism, and we're horrified to hear how these customers were treated by another customer. We are reinforcing training with our employees on how this incident was handled and apologize to the players and their families for this terrible experience. Ryan Clark is back with us. Ryan, to see this happen to your son, I don't even want to ask a question.
Okay, yeah. So, because he's about to turn the floor over to Ryan Clark. I just want you to evaluate the story that was just told. Now, maybe I'm a fast food drive-through expert, and maybe the rest of you don't have the level of expertise that I have at a fast food drive-through. But I got a lot of experience at a fast food drive-through. I've seen everything in a fast food drive-through. Been there so many times, I know it in my sleep. Listen to that story. And I know he's talking about this is during COVID, this is 2020, people can't go inside. And his sons and 2 friends just wanted someone to order them food so they could eat. And they asked this woman, and she said no. And then later they engaged with her, and she called them the N-word for no reason. Nothing provoked her. And I'm not even saying there's anything that could justify calling them the N-word. But I just want you to think it through. Is that how life really works? Someone asked you to do them a favor at a drive-through. Hey, could you put my order in? You say no. And then they politely, ma'am, could you please order us some food at a drive-through? No. Then she drives through to get her food, and she's like, well, I told them no, and they said nothing in return, and I just shouted the N-word at them. Now, this is a white woman who, according to the story, seems to be in the car by herself. And there's 3 college football players, large men, athletic-looking men. And this woman in Arizona just wants to shout the N-word at them. without being provoked. Nothing happened. They said nothing to her. They never called her a name, nothing. She's just looking for trouble with 3 large, athletic, young black men. Do you know a lot of women, black, white, brown, yellow, that just at a drive-through is like, hey, let me agitate 3 young men. Take color out of it. Do you think this story makes sense? And that the manager, they're insinuating, overheard all of this and sided with the racist white woman and didn't think like, hey, man, or hey, young lady, why are you shouting this? Just think the story. This story is bogus. At best, how that story played out is they talked saucy to that woman, and she talked saucy back to him. That's just common sense. If this actually happened, it's because 2 sides were talking saucy. This group of innocent young, and because I've been a young college football player and an idiot, and I used to talk saucy to just random people. And when I say talk, could have been flirting, could have said, hey, I can get in them panties, could have been any of that. College kids, college football players. I used to be one and know them, and I know the silly stuff that we would do to irritate people if we thought they weren't being cooperative with what we wanted. But they're telling this fantasy story where Ryan Clark's son dropped down from heaven like an angel, and this white woman in a drive-through by herself hey, I want some smoke. I want some trouble with 3 young athletes. Really? Are we really this story is farcical. And ESPN has no business platforming this farcical story and then turning it over to Ryan Clark to embellish on this farcical story. And boy, does he run with it. Let's return to the clip and Ryan Clark's interpretation of what happened.
With us, Ryan, to see this happen to your son, I don't even want to ask a question. You're a member of our family here. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Well, I think initially the first thing is, as a black man and the father of a black young man, I'm happy he's alive, period. Like that was my first thought. And then that immediately turned to anger. And what's crazy is I wasn't mad at the young lady or the woman. I wasn't mad at the manager. I was mad at myself. I was mad with Jordan. And I'm not necessarily sure that that's the right emotion to have, but nothing pisses me off more than being scared. And even though I knew the moment was over, I was still.
Thank you. I just wanted. This man just went from a white woman at a drive-through in Arizona, and his son played at Arizona State. I've been to Tempe, Arizona. This is Tempe, Arizona. This ain't Buck Tussle, Mississippi, Arizona. This ain't backwoods Tempe, Arizona. This is Tempe, Arizona. And this man just said that he's happy his son is alive, that he survived this encounter at a drive-through window with some random white woman in her car. She could have had a gun and killed his son. This is what he's inferring. This is farcical, but this is the making of a race clown. Let's continue.
And I'm playing out other scenarios in my mind. I'm playing out a scenario of if this woman would have had a weapon and she could easily say that these 3 young black men were threatening her. One of Jordan's friends is a tight end. He's extremely tall. He's a thicker kid. And I believe that if that woman pulls a gun on those young men and if that woman pulls the trigger, I believe that she's never punished. I believe that justice is never served. And even if justice is served, it's not enough to bring my son back. But this isn't just a fear.
Pause. This is what I'm talking about when I say the whole culture's been feminized. What have you heard me talk about earlier this week in these shows about the delusion of women and the delusion of black women in particular? They live in some fantasy world, 300 pounds, wearing the smallest clothes on the planet, and just, I'm thick. I'm not overweight, I'm thick. I can't even tell you what a woman is. You can be a Supreme Court justice, a black woman, get in front of the entire world and say, I'm not a biologist, I can't tell you what a woman is. This is the delusion that we live in. This is the reflection of the matriarchal culture. And this is Ryan Clark, a man that played a combat predatory sport, football. He doesn't realize he's developed the mindset of a woman, and he lives off in fantasy world. That woman could have had a gun and she could have killed my son at that drive-thru. And he goes so far with it that he thinks the white woman could have pulled a gun on 3 black college kids, shot and killed them at the drive-thru, and she would have never been charged or convicted of a crime. He's off in hypothetical fantasy land on national TV after some host on ESPN. I don't even want to ask you a question, Ryan. The floor is yours. You're part of the family. Go ahead. Tell your fantasy story. No one's going to question it, Ryan. Your story is above reproach. Anything you say. The host, and I can't think of this dude's name, he should have fell out of his chair. What did you just say? Because, and see, this is the difference. This is why they can't stand me. Because I grew up at the Masterpiece Lounge. And if somebody had been sitting in the Masterpiece Lounge and told that story, somebody would have shouted out the N-word with a hard A and then ended with, please. That Negro, please. Cut the cap. Wouldn't have said cap in the Masterpiece days in the golden days. Maybe they say it now, but Negro, please, what are you doing? This is comical. Shut the. This is how it would have been handled. But I lived during a time, or the Masterpiece Lounge and all that, the America, the black America that I knew was steeped in common sense and in reality. But we've moved off to this matriarchal fantasy land. And the men have moved there too. This is the making of a race con. We're watching this play. This is a dance and a ritual. This is something Ryan Clark has to do in order to get that paycheck from people that want you focused on a conflict between black and white people, not a conflict between people that believe Jesus Christ is their Lord and Savior and people that reject that. Continue with the tape.
This isn't just a fear for me every day. This has been a fear for black people forever. My father called me to check on me last night. He obviously called Jordan the day before. And there's a story my dad has been telling around me forever, and we actually laughed at it. And it takes on new meaning for me. When in 1977, my father was at a fast food restaurant with his girlfriend. His girlfriend at the time, and I know we're trying to get rid of colorism, was a fairer skinned woman, but she was black. But to the white guys in there, she was a white girl. And so they start harassing him, and they're using racial slurs and calling him an N-word. And so they attempt to jump my father. And so he jumps behind the counter, and he's looking for something to protect himself with, but it's a restaurant. All they had was plastic utensils. And we would laugh about that story but he said, I never thought that this many years later, my grandson would be experiencing the same racism that I did. And so where we are in a point to where people are starting to listen, where people are starting to understand who didn't understand before, I believe that the true racists, the people with true hate in their heart, are starting to feel a little bit of the power that they felt over the last few years slip away. So they're going to double down on their racism. They're going to double down on their hate. They're going to double down on their evil. And that's what this woman did. And at the end of Jordan's statement, he kind of lists some of the things that he thought about himself and said, to this woman, I was none of those things. His entire life, he has grown up as my son, and it was my job to put him in better situations than my parents could put me. So he grew up in very affluent areas. He went to schools that were predominantly white because those were the schools that I felt could give him the best opportunity to succeed. But he was always treated as Ryan Clark's son, and he's faced racism and he's heard the word, but it never affected him in this way. And I felt like I didn't prepare him for this situation enough to know, as a black man, you can't walk up to cars. You can't wave down cars with white people in it because your life is not of value to all of them. And so I'm blessed that my child is still here.
Let's hit pause. This man's on national TV acting like your life is in jeopardy as a black man if you walk up to a white person in a car and ask for something. Let's just think this through. And I know this is black and white people, but homeless black and white people, I see them walking up to white people's cars virtually every day. I see them walking up to my car every day. What is he talking about? Now, I mean, what is he talking about? This is fantasy land, and it's being broadcast all over national TV. Who's behind this? Who wants people believing this garbage? That, oh, as a black person, your life is in jeopardy if you walk up to the car of a white person. And the man sitting there, interviewing Ryan Clark, his name is Ryan Smith. So he's co-signing this ignorance. He's co-signing it. He's going right along. Well, this is Ryan Clark's Race Clown Initiation Day here at ESPN. I'm here to host it. It's almost like a baptism. You know, there's someone there to dip him in the water, and the congregation is all watching, and everyone applauds. He's being baptized as a race clown. And I called this out in real time, and we're about to get to Ryan Clark, whoever his agents are, who his handlers are, Bob Iger, his agents, whatever was communicated to his agents. Now, Ryan, when you go out and do this ritual, you got to put some tears on it. You got to start babbling and crying, because this whole thing is feminine. You're committing yourself to a matriarchal worldview. You're committing yourself to a feminist worldview. You fear everything. Oh my God, I walk up to a car, my son could get killed, I could get killed. I didn't prepare my son. He may hear someone say the N-word. Oh my God. Ryan, you're better than this. I'm not calling you this, but again, this behavior, this ritual they got you going through, this role they got you playing, it's very feminine, bro. It's ungodly. It's very matriarchal. It's not what men are supposed to do. I called this out in real time, and this is why Ryan Clark can't stand me. And this entire conversation you've heard so far for about 29 minutes is why they told Ryan Clark, hey, bro, just block Jason Whitlock. You don't want them problems. We don't want them problems. We don't want Jason Whitlock doing exactly what I'm doing right now, calling this out in real time, explaining to you all the game that's being played on all of us. We have a disagreement about values, about worldview, about Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. We do not have a disagreement based on color. Ryan Clark knows it. I know it. Anybody with a brain should know it. The disagreement is about values and biblical worldview. But they don't want you focused on that. Disney, Bob Iger, doesn't want you thinking that. Because once you realize it's about value and the scales come off your eyes, then you're going to start questioning everything. You're going to start questioning, who are the chosen people? And they don't want you asking that question. And they don't want you asking the question about who has a supremacist mindset and worldview that they're better than everybody else. Who really has that? They don't want you. Let's continue. I don't want to stop Ryan Clark from nailing the ending of this farcical story. Play the clip.
Them, and so I'm blessed that my child is still here. Like it's something would have happened to him, it would have broke me. And so for me, I got to do a better job of educating him, and I got to protect him because I wouldn't know how to live if he wouldn't have made it out. And so thank you for everybody that reached out to me. And like, I know it's getting better, but it's not better yet, and better for everybody. And, you know, like, we just got to keep, you know, staying together, man, and just doing what we can.
Ryan, we are with you, man. We are with you. I thank you for that. I know that was hard. Making me think about my life and my kids, too. They are all we have, our children. Ryan Clark, thank you.
And that's why Ryan Clark went on Michelle Tafoya's show and is beating his chest, how he stood up to Michelle Tafoya and answered all of her questions. And I like Michelle Tafoya, and I respect Michelle Tafoya. But Michelle Tafoya engaging in a racial conflict with Ryan Clark, she's at a severe disadvantage being a Hispanic and or white woman. She looks white, I think she's Hispanic, but she's at a severe disadvantage. This isn't her lane. She can't stand toe-to-toe with Ryan Clark. He'll play the race card. I watched this interview that he's bragging about. She'd ask a direct question. He wouldn't answer directly. He would take her off into La La Land and just filibuster and milk the clock. And we'll play some of that here in a bit. This is going to take me, Steve Kim, you might be watching. Steve, I'll probably I will see you tomorrow. We'll let you respond to this tomorrow. This is going to take me more time than I anticipated, and I did kind of anticipate, but we're going to be here for a while because I'm going to unpack all of this because it's important. This game and the game that's being played on us and this opportunity we have right now to start figuring out who our actual allies are and the game that's being played on us to keep us from our actual allies. This whole Ryan Clark thing is far more important than people realize, and I'm going to do my best here today to unpack it all so that you fully understand that this, what Cat Williams was talking about and what I've been talking about, why Stephen A. Smith has the job that he has. He's just another race clown. And the process of getting people and then how they use people. And so stick with me. I'm going to take 1 second here and then I'm going to jump right back into this. I just want to take 1 second here to talk about our friends at Relief Factor. If pain is affecting your life, I have the perfect New Year's resolution for you. Make 2025 the year of feeling good again, the year of moving better, sleeping better, feeling more alive, and do it with Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, it doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Over 1 million people have turned to Relief Factor. Feel the difference it can make in your life. Give their 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day, and it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800, the number 4, RELIEF. You can start feeling better in 3 weeks or less, and every day you feel better is a day you live better. Wherever you are, hurting, back, neck, joints, or muscles, make 2025 the year of feeling good again. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. I just got a shipment of re-up in the mail at my home yesterday, Relief Factor. Thank you guys so much. This is a product, guys, that I use myself and believe in myself. Just got my re-up last night. Excited, going to be feeling better. Working at the gym, things in my house going much better. I'm going to need and lean into Relief Factor. Let me return to Ryan Clark. And because he's been plain dumb with Marcellus, Wiley, and others about like, well, why y'all acting like all I care about is race? Or why is people have all this blowback towards me over Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson? And it's because people have figured out what I have figured out and what I figured out long ago. What your job is at ESPN, what they've signed you up for, the way they're using you at ESPN to promote racial division and racial disharmony. That's your job. That's how you got that new shiny contract, because you went through the process of signing up to be a race clown. And so Marcellus Wiley starts calling Ryan Clark out on this. And they have a feud going back and forth. And Ryan Clark is beating his chest right now over social media that he offered to go on Marcellus Wiley's show. And Marcellus like, nah, I ain't doing that. That ain't me. That ain't what I do on my show. Not interested. And he's called Marcellus Wiley a hoe, a coward, a sellout, because Marcellus Wiley is standing on like, hey man, you've never reached out to me over the last 10 years. And now because I have some criticism of you over Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in your whole conversation as it relates to the black quarterback, now you want to reach out and talk to me. And you've never done that in 10 years. Marcel's like, I ain't doing it. And there's part of me that thought Marcellus, oh, this is a great opportunity. Have him on your show, Marcellus. And that certainly, I would love to have Ryan Clark on this show. I'd go on his show, whatever. Love to have the conversation publicly with him because, that's what I do. That's not Marcellus's personality. That's not what he does. And when you don't believe you're dealing with an honest person, you wonder about what's the point of engaging with them. And so I get why Marcellus like, hey man, I'm doing my show here. We don't have guests on here. I'm not stopping everything to have you on as a guest, because Marcellus doesn't think Ryan Clark's going to engage honestly. And having watched Ryan Clark on with Michelle Tafoya, I think Marcellus is right. I don't think he engaged honestly with Michelle Tafoya. She would ask simple questions. He'd give elongated, nonsensical. First question she asked about as it relates to Lamar Jackson and authentically black and all that other stuff, he didn't answer the question. Let me ask you a question. And then he turned it into a conversation about what Outkick did and how Outkick wrote a story about it. He did not answer her question. He deflected and turned it into a conversation about Outkick and how he was misquoted and how he never said authentically black. He played a word game with her. And it's like, I get why Marcellus is like, nah, this is pointless. It ain't gonna go nowhere. And this guy is no friend of mine, has no interest in being a friend of mine. So why engage? And that's why I stepped in and said, hey, I'd love to have Ryan Clark on. According to him, he'll engage with anyone. Hey, I engaged with Bobby Burack and Outkick. I engaged with Michelle Tafoya. And I'm not saying this disparagingly, because I really respect Bobby Burack and Michelle Tafoya. But when it comes to a race conflict and how it will play out over social media and how it will be received, he took on cupcakes. That was a cupcake schedule. He does not want to play Alabama. He does not want to play Ohio State. Doesn't want to play Michigan. He wants to play Northern Illinois, Ball State. He wants to take on cupcakes because he knows he's standing on a pile of lies, and he knows that someone like me, I'm going to turn this into a biblical discussion because he claims to be a Christian. But he's a race clown, and he's unfair to people. Very unfair to Sage Steele. I want to play you Sage Steele on Jay Cutler's podcast talking about Barack Obama's father. It's SOT number 5. Play the clip.
When you fill out your census, I'm like, well, I don't know when the last time I filled out my census was, but if they make you choose a race, she's like, what are you going to put? I go, well, both. She's like, well, you can't. She goes, well, what if Barack Obama chose black and he's biracial? I'm like, well, congratulations to the president. That's his thing. I go, I think that's fascinating considering his black dad was nowhere to be found, but his white mom and grandma raised him. But hey, you do you. I'm going to do me.
That comment from Sage Steele made Ryan Clark refuse to go on air with Sage Steele, I believe. Now, Sage Steele is mixed race, just like Barack Obama. She's an expert in comparison to me, Ryan Clark, non-mixed race people on being mixed race and how you should handle that. But that comment, I want to play you Ryan Clark talking about Sage Steele's comment on Obama's father. Play SOT 6.
The one thing and the only thing I took offense to in her Jay Cutler interview was her saying that with President Obama's father not being a part of his life, why would he want to consider himself black? As a black man who understands that no matter what President Obama decides to check off as his race, he's going to be seen by an entire country as a black man. He's going to be viewed if policemen say the suspect is a black, tall, slender, light-skinned man, President Obama would fit that description. He's also a man that is married to a black woman, also a man who was raising 2 young black daughters. And I felt that was disrespectful to say, why would someone with that blood running through their veins want to represent that culture?
So that's what he just said to Michelle Tafoya, describing the comments that Sage Steele said on Jay Cutler's podcast. I know we just saw those comments, but I want to replay SOT number 5 and see if that's consistent with how Ryan Clark just defined Sage Steele. Play the clip.
When you fill out your census, I'm like, well, I don't know when the last time I filled out my census was, but if they make you choose a race, she's like, what are you going to put? I go, well, both. She's like, well, you can't. She goes, well, what if Barack Obama chose black and he's biracial? I'm like, well, congratulations to the president. That's his thing. I go, I think that's fascinating considering his black dad was nowhere to be found, but his white mom and grandma raised him. But hey, you do you. I'm going to do me.
What did she say that was so disrespectful to Barack Obama? And why is her opinion as a mixed race, half black, half white person, Obama's half black, half white, her opinion on that is so offensive that you felt disrespected, or that was so disrespectful to Barack Obama that, hey, I'm not going to go on air with Sage Steele, or I got some sort of problem with Sage Steele. This is a bully. And you wonder why Marcellus doesn't want to engage? This Sage Steele is, and I say this in a positive way. I'm not saying this in a negative way. There's no disparagement here, but she's harmless. Sage Steele just wants to bring joy to the world. Sage Steele just wants everybody to like her. So, again, now, that doesn't mean she doesn't have a set of convictions and things she stands for, but Sage Steele would much rather have everybody greet her with a smile and a warm hug than to be upset with her. That's how she carries herself. That's how she comes across. That's how she treats people. She has no interest in conflict. And in order to establish himself as a race clown and a racial divider and a race warrior, Ryan Clark smeared and participated in the smearing of Sage Steele's reputation and the painting of Sage Steele as some sort of racial sellout. This is ridiculous. And he wonders why people have a problem with him. He wonders why people see him as racially divisive. He wonders why people are suspicious of his comments about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. People just understand what your job is, Ryan, and how you present yourself. There's no mystery here. This is someone who's been installed as a race clown to promote racial division and to keep black and white people at each other's throats. And that's why he got a contract extension, and that's why ESPN keeps letting him do his thing. Racially divide. He's made Lamar Jackson polarizing when Lamar Jackson isn't polarizing. People love Lamar Jackson or would love Lamar Jackson if he wasn't tied up, if Ryan Clark hadn't made Lamar Jackson part of his racial stick, his racial division stick. People are tired of the racial division. People are looking for an opportunity to connect based on values, based on shared values, based on shared worldview. And Ryan Clark's job is don't do that. Don't connect on shared values. Don't lean in to Christian values that bring us all together the way Ohio State and Notre Dame's football teams did. Remember, all these conversations I have all week, they all connect. It's all just, I come up here every day trying to help you guys understand, like, a biblical worldview brings us all together. Jesus Christ is the way. If you're tired of racial division, if you want people to be treated fairly, lean into Jesus Christ in a Christian worldview and connect with people on those values. Ryan Clark wants you to connect with people based on race. That's going to keep us divided, and that's his job. Marcellus, and I'm mixing and matching here. Marcellus is having fun with this. I'm taking a more serious approach, but I want to give you a second to breathe and to just relax for a moment and put a smile on your face and not be watching this on the edge of your seat with gritted teeth. And so I want to play you this clip of Marcellus, because I think it's pretty clever. I got hats off to Marcellus. He's having fun with Ryan Clark. And Marcellus is a music DJ, rap music junkie. And so he wrote a rap song, a diss track, per se, on Ryan Clark and performed it live on air yesterday. We're going to share it. Marcellus, don't hit me with a copyright for taking your song. It's the first time I've heard you rap, Marcellus, and it was actually pretty good. Let's play shot number 7.
I gotta get my flows right for this one. Go get him, MJ. What'd he say? That's my baby. That's my 9-year-old. That's MJ. Hey, what'd he do? What he talking about? All that stuff coming out his mouth. I hear it. But I'm so far away. I ain't near it. You know what I'm saying? I just try to keep it clean, my spirit. But you ready? Let's fear it. Let's go. Ryan Clark. What's this I see? You dissing me for years, now you wanna talk to me? Private text, but your public game is weak. Calling me a sellout, now I wanna hear you speak, boy. Yo, Clark, you been running your mouth for a while. Throwing shade in public, trying to cramp my style. Calling me a sellout, trying to tear my name. But when it gets too hot, you don't treat it the same. Social media posts, man, you out of control. Tweeting disrespect, gonna play that role. Now you hitting up my phone, trying to make it right. But you weren't talking reckless just last night. I heard you. Don't text me in private while you diss me in public. Fraudulent vibes, man, I can't even trust it. Ryan Clark's fake, yeah, I'm calling it out. Keep that same energy when you run your mouth. Yeah, that's how you sound coming on my show. Nah, I ain't with that. You had your chance, but now it's tit for tat. Years of disses. Now you want to be friends? But real ones don't fake it. This is where it ends. I stayed in my lane. I did what I do. While you threw dirt, now it's sticking to you. Keep my name out your tweets, out your posts, boy. Ryan Clark, man, you just doing the most, boy. Fraud and fake, yeah, that's your game. But real ones stand tall. They don't play for fame. You want to talk? Nah, the door's shut tight. Handle your issues where you spark that fight. Why? I hear you. Yo, Ryan, take this as a lesson to learn. Respect ain't given, it's something you earn. You can keep your text, keep your fake game too. Real recognize real. And I don't see you. Damn!
Was that pretty good or what?
Sort of like a preacher.
Yeah, that was good. I love that from Marcellus. I just wanted to lighten it up a little bit. I'm not done yet, though. We're going to get back to exposing Ryan Clark, and I'm doing it in a much bigger, broader way so that you can understand what the media, what Disney, what they're doing with Ryan Clark, Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp. It's like they dusted Jemele Hill, but they just replaced her with dudes. And they can replace her with dudes because they've made black culture so matriarchal that the dudes will get on air and talk like women. That's my overall point. We've been made into women by the matriarchy, and that's what we need to be rejecting. That's what we need to recognize. All this delusional fantasy, my feelings, and so disrespected Barack Obama, and I'm not gonna sit with them because they disrespected Barack Obama, and he's my hero. But before I return to slicing and dicing Ryan Clark, let me talk to you guys about our worldview here and our mission here at Fearless as it relates to PreBorn. You want to hear some great news? The abortion pill reversal treatment, which provides women with a second opportunity to choose, is bringing babies back to life. When you join forces with PreBorn Ministries, you empower women to reverse the curse. See, what you might not be aware of is that even though Roe was overturned and abortion has been greatly restricted in many states, the abortion pill has superseded surgical abortions, accounting now for more than 60% of all abortions. PreBorn's network of clinics are on standby for women in their darkest hour, and they meet them with God's love and free services to help them choose life. Through ultrasound and the abortion pill reversal protocol, PreBorn has rescued more than 300,000 babies' lives. Start the new year right by supporting life. One ultrasound is just $28. $140 will help to rescue 5 babies. Will you help us? Just dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or donate securely at preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. Nothing better you can do today, tomorrow, the next day, every day than support PreBorn. Please do so. Let me return to Ryan Clark. And I want to play a clip from a podcast of some guy. I think it's called Real Cigar Jeff or something, The Average Guy. He's got some podcast, maybe 5,000 subscribers. But I thought he was a pretty good representation of, like, what does the average Joe think? What does the average guy think about Ryan Clark? And this is a black dude who was talking about Ryan Clark and his whole racializing of the entire quarterback conversation. And I think this guy put this out early January, late December, when Ryan Clark had talked about black quarterbacks and left out Patrick Mahomes. It's like, didn't really consider him black, and ended up having to take down, this was some post he did on X, had to take it down, and the average, this is the average guy, Real Cigar Jeff, I think is his name, black dude. I just want to play a small excerpt of just the average black sports fan who has figured out Ryan Clark's gimmick. Play SOT number 9.
Guys, I got to tell you, man, I don't know if you guys saw First Take where Ryan Clark was talking about, Lamar Jackson and basically how he hopes that Lamar Jackson can step up to the plate and own these playoffs and win a championship because he's standing on the shoulders of other black coaches like Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick, Cam Newton, that kind of thing. Now, he didn't include people like Steve McNair or anybody like that, but you guys get the gist. But more importantly, what the news picked up on was he didn't include Patrick Mahomes. And one of the things, man, look, I like Ryan Clark. I think he does a lot better job on his Pivot podcast than he does on ESPN, but that's another video for another day. But I think Ryan Clark on ESPN, I don't know if the race game is starting to get old, because to not acknowledge Patrick Mahomes as black when he was talking about black quarterbacks winning Super Bowls, and especially with Patrick Mahomes being a multiple winning Super Bowl champion, I think Ryan Clark is going to end up overdoing it with him trying to be the pro-black, just pro-black, pro-uplifting, everything like that. Sometimes your takes can get misconstrued, and I think that's what happened right now. Stephen A. Smith came on his show and said he wished Ryan Clark wouldn't have taken it.
We can stop it there. This is just the average, but that sounds like some dude that would hang out at the Masterpiece Lounge. Just seemed like the average guy to me. Seemed like somebody, not some, came across to me just keeping it real, like got a black wife at home, black girlfriend, whatever. Just seemed like the average dude. They can see it. And they're like, Ryan, you're doing too much. You signed up for this race clown role, and it's just like the guy says, like, hey, man, I think he's going too far with this. I think people are kind of tired of this. People want to move on from this, and they do. And why aren't we? I mean, like, half the NFL quarterbacks are black. It's gotten to the point it would be like, if Ryan Clark were talking about the NBA, and LeBron James is the first 40-year-old black NBA player to ever do X, Y, and Z. And everybody would be like, NBA, the black people, the black athletes dominate the NBA. Why are we acting like every time a black person farts on an NFL football field while leading by 13 points, he somehow made history? Let's cut it out. Why are they doing this? And this is all... Years ago, when Deadspin, this is all part of an overall mission in sports. Remember when Deadspin used to be relevant 10 years ago? They had that guy that they installed, their puppet, their sock puppet, a guy named Greg Howard, the guy that used to write all them hit pieces on me. They helped him, they basically ghost wrote this thing about the history of black NFL quarterbacks. And they wrote some long, like 20,000 word deal about every black quarterback that ever played in the NFL. And I was like, what is Deadspin? They're trying to make Greg Howard the authority on black NFL quarterbacks. Greg Howard never covered the NFL, certainly never played in the NFL, had no real insight into the NFL. But Deadspin was trying to install Greg Howard as the authority on black quarterbacks. Why? This is a leftist website that covered sports, and they wanted their black puppet to be the authority on black quarterbacks because they knew talking about black quarterbacks is a way of controlling the conversation on race. and promoting the theory that black people and white people are enemies in America, and that white conservatives that started the NFL, that run the NFL, white Christians that organize the NFL, they're the enemies of black people, and they were going to have Greg Howard making that argument for Deadspin. Deadspin eventually went belly up, and Hulk Hogan and Peter Thiel took him down, but that whole mindset of who controls the conversation about black quarterbacks. This is Disney and people in the media that are really, really smart that know, like, oh, if we control the conversation about black quarterbacks or about quarterbacks in the NFL, we can stir racial division on a massive level. Sports, which generally speaking brings people together, we can use it as a tool to stir racial division. That's how you end up with Ryan Clark, an NFL cornerback, an NFL safety, as the voice of the whole quarterback situation. It's like Stephen A. Smith can't do it. They would have loved for him to do it, but he's such a clown. He knows so little about football, he can't do it. And so Ryan Clark, in signing up, I'll be the race clown. I'll stir racial division in the National Football League. I'll stir racial division about black quarterbacks. Ryan Clark signed up for that job. And so here's just a little small example I just saw. No, we'll play SOT number 2. This is Ryan Clark on the evolution of black quarterbacks. Play the clip.
Because we rate you perfectly where you are. We say you are on the tier right under Patrick Mahomes. Why? Because Patrick Mahomes has 3 championships. Exactly. In order for you to be in that sort of conversation, you have to go win one. And you have to go win one playing any kind of way. Yeah. Whether it's the traditional Lamar way that involves his legs and quarterback runs, or it's Lamar Jackson being the pocket passer that we see now. But I do want to add one thing, because I know we changed the question, and I wanted to say something about this. And I want to say it to you, and I want to say it to Randall Cunningham, and I want to say it to Russell Wilson, and I want to say it to Michael Vick. This is the evolution of the position. Yeah. Without Randall Cunningham having to try to conform and be a pocket passer and also show his athleticism, we don't get to Michael Vick. Mm-hmm. And without Michael Vick accepting that and working to become a better passer, working to become a better leader, we don't get a Cam Newton. Yep. And if Cam Newton doesn't bring the style of play that he had the opportunity to bring from Auburn to the NFL and win an MVP doing it, we don't have a Lamar Jackson. Correct. See, we've needed at that position, because of all the negativity surrounding whether or not people like you can play it, we needed each of you to get to this point. Right. Yes. And that's why we need Lamar Jackson to take that next step and hold that Lombardi trophy the same way we all cried when Doug Williams did it in the 80s.
Yes, shout out to Preach.
You see that? They got a woman sitting there who knows nothing about football, but she's cheerleading Ryan Clark as he says something stupid and ignorant. Cam Newton's on set to lend even more credibility to this whole black quarterback thing, and that's why Cam Newton has been added to First Take and ESPN to further the clown conversation about black quarterbacks, because they want the racial division. They want the whole quarterback thing to be this super polarizing thing. And sports fans don't care. They just want to watch football. If Ryan Clark weren't involved, Lamar Jackson would probably be the most popular athlete in all of sports, or at least second behind Caitlin Clark. But it can't happen because he's been turned into polarizing Lamar Jackson. And that's by design. There are no accidents here. Listen to, I found this clip, I just stumbled across this clip of Ryan Clark talking about Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. Play shot number 8.
better quarterback is, it's Jalen Hurts. If you're asking me who the more successful quarterback is, it's Jalen Hurts. If you're asking me who the quarterback is that I can rely on more, that I believe that is more consistent, who I count on more in the biggest moments against the biggest teams in the best games, it's Jalen Hurts. Those things are not a conversation. Those things are a part of resume. Those things are a part of history. Those things are a part of film.
That's just an ignorant statement by Ryan Clark. He's being intentionally racially divisive. And I know Ryan Clark has said to others, hey, why do I praise Joe Burrow? Everybody throws a curveball once in a while, and Joe Burrow played at LSU, where Ryan Clark played at LSU, and he supports everything LSU. But you throw the change, hey, I support it. And today, or I think I saw him on Inside the NFL yesterday, making some positive comments about Josh Allen. But everybody knows what you're really about, Ryan. Everybody knows who gave you your marching orders, Ryan. So here is, and there's a longer clip I'm going to play at some point, just to point out how stupid Ryan Clark is and why I consider Ryan Clark installed. But I want to play this one first. I want to play Ryan Clark talking with Michelle Tafoya, and she questions him about this authentically black thing as it relates to Lamar Jackson. And I want to watch the dodge here. This is SOT number 11. Let's play the clip.
Why it's so important for this one guy and why he's different from any other black quarterback who has won a Super Bowl or who has represented.
Okay, so can I ask you a question? Because this is something I want to know, right? So when we talked about the MVP recently, and I said I thought Lamar Jackson should win it, but I said Josh Allen has also had an MVP caliber season and a great season. In the Outkick article that was posted, or the quote, it says, in quotations, he's authentically black. Right? Mm-hmm. I feel like we just listened to the entire segment, which I have before. I never mentioned that Lamar Jackson was authentically black.
Did you in any other?
I did not, right? So there are my issues with some of these, and we could say it, some of these far right, whether they're sites or networks or Twitter handles.
Well, so what did you mean by authentic? Because you only compared him to other black quarterbacks.
Right, but I never mentioned authentically black. So to even put that in quotations, when speaking about me as part of your title is a lie, right? Because I never said it. I said he's authentically himself. And what I meant by that was he remained authentically himself when people asked him to change. When he was
you are saying, you did say at the end, Ryan, there's a whole culture that he's representing. Yes. Okay, yes. What culture are you referring to?
I'm referring to the culture of African Americans. I'm referring to the black culture. I'm referring to a quarterback that comes from South Florida, and when he goes back to do his camps or to do his community work, he goes back to those communities. He goes back to the kids that are going to be raised like Lamar Jackson, who are going to walk the same hallways as Lamar Jackson. That's the community and that's the culture I'm talking about. I'm talking about a person who is still close friends with a high schooler and still shows love to a high schooler who is now the rapper Kodak Black, who he grew up with, who many would advise because of some of the things that that young man has gone through, that you pull yourself away from that, that you separate from that. He has never done that. He remained authentically himself.
When I tell you these are installed clowns there to promote ignorance and there to convince young black people to remain ignorant, to ignore good advice, This is what I'm talking about. Ryan Clark thinks it's important that Lamar Jackson remain loyal to some rapper, Kodak Black. It's not important. And if Kodak Black is involved in things, promotes things that are not in Lamar Jackson's best interest, that could damage Lamar Jackson's reputation, Lamar Jackson needs the freedom to be able to distance himself from Kodak Black without losing authenticity or real blackness. But they don't allow black men to go on national television shows and give black men good advice. They pay clowns millions of dollars to advise black people, don't evolve, don't do better, don't take steps to distance yourself. Just keep in mind, Ryan Clark claims Christianity. And so he's never, I guess, come across the passages, the scriptures. I believe in the book of Acts about coming out from among them. Leave the world behind. You're not of this world. We're just visitors here. Being aligned with Kodak Black has no importance or no value to Lamar Jackson. But they put clowns on TV to tell you, oh, yes, you're not keeping it real unless you're BFF with a rapper. And this is what drives me crazy, is my father, and I hate to say, but again, my father, I'm just going to tell you who my father is. I've told you before. My father loved black people, built and operated a business in an all-black community, built a brand new home in an all-black community, used to brag to me. My father was a good-looking man and known as a player, but used to brag to me. I'd only sleep with a black woman, blah, blah. But my father was right in line. He's like a street-level Malcolm X, Dr. Umar, whatever. And so when he saw me hanging on to friends from high school that he thought weren't on the same path that I was on, when that man in the middle with the afro, that's my brother on the right, that's me on the left, he complained. But you better leave them alone, but not in my house, blah, blah, blah. You ain't gonna get no support from me. If you keep them friends, they're gonna destroy you, blah, 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 blah. That's what my father did. My father, just keeping it real, he didn't like white people. He loved me and my brother and gave us advice that he thought served us. Ryan Clark wants you to think that my father was wrong for saying, hey man, them dudes, you know they up to no good. They dabbling in dope dealing, they dabbling in this and dabbling in that. Leave them alone. Ryan Clark wants you to believe that no, to be authentically black, you must maintain those friendships, or you're not authentically black. These are the clowns that Disney and Bob Iger install. That's why Stephen A. Smith has sat in interviews and on TV bragging about, oh, the dope dealers, they all protected me. I'm from the streets. I was not to be touched. Stephen a possible retard that got flunked 4th grade. A counselor laughed at the thought of him going to college. Again, they get these clowns and they all pretend that they're street smart and street savvy and they're street and they know how to operate in the streets and they come from the streets and the streets protected them and the streets are good for them. And TJ Moe just sent me in our weekly Bible study on Tuesdays. We were talking about biblical wisdom versus street wisdom or street smarts, and how biblical wisdom, godly wisdom. And I think we were in the book of James on Tuesday, and Anthony's talking about how James is trying to tell people, hey man, leave that street wisdom. If the wisdom is not from God, it's no good. And TJ this morning, so that was on Tuesday. Today's Thursday. TJ this morning just sent me 1 Corinthians 3:19. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. For it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. Street smarts and street connections and all, it's all hot garbage that will lead you on a path of destruction. Ryan Clark, again, he claims Christ. I just don't see any evidence anywhere. What I see is evidence of a clown who's been installed to convince black people to remain unwise in biblical wisdom and in biblical actions. Who've been trained and brainwashed into believing the white evangelical Christian is their enemy. And the people who don't claim Christ are their allies. That's why so many black, oh God, anything that comes out of Rachel Maddow or Anderson Cooper's mouth is gospel. The gays and the atheists, that's their allies. I don't know if we got the clip, we'll see. But I caught somewhere Ryan Clark talking about black trans folks and how blah, blah, blah. Oh, now he's pro-black trans folks. Is this biblical? Who are your allies? He's installed. I'm gonna play another Michelle Tafoya, Ryan Clark clip. But before I get there, because I don't think we have this, but part of that conversation he had with Michelle Tafoya, at some point, his argument as it relates to Lamar Jackson is like, people have pushed him to change. They have said that his mother shouldn't be his agent and he should change the way that he talks and he should change this, the way he should change his style to do this, to do that, and that Russell Wilson and these other black quarterbacks, they've been more palatable. They haven't gotten any pushback. No one's asked them to change anything. It's only been Lamar. And I was like, this is why you put these idiots, because they don't even understand, they don't know the game. Again, Ryan Clark knows how to play defensive back, but that's it. Does he really understand what's going on? You think Russell Wilson hasn't faced any pushback about changing the way that he interacts with his teammates, changing the way that he carries himself? You think there's been no pushback on Russell Wilson? The Legion of Boom rejected Russell Wilson. Marshawn Lynch rejected Russell Wilson. Sean Payton rejected Russell Wilson. Oh, but that's all okay. Everybody disliking Russell Wilson for carrying himself like a nerd, like like Carlton from the Fresh Prince. That's okay. We can all push back against that. That's acceptable. I'm going to remove race from it. You think there was no pushback on Tim Tebow? You think people weren't saying, hey, man, get up off your knees, quit honoring Jesus Christ? You think there was no pushback on Tim Tebow? And that only Lamar Jackson has faced any criticism about the way he carries himself. I mean, just these people are installed. Their job is to promote racial division. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're doing. They're clowns. And Bob Iger tells them what to do. And he passes out little goodies and trinkets and $1 million contracts to them for being clowns. Now I want to play Michelle Tafoya asking Ryan Clark about Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes. And this might be where he talks about, you know, they didn't face pushback. I'm not sure. Let's play shot number 12.
But when you think about Patrick Mahomes, the mainstream accepts him and has always accepted him. And he's more familiar to everyone than a Lamar Jackson is. When you think about a guy who was raised in professional baseball dugouts, who at the time, who is married, right, to a white woman whose mother is a white woman, he is more familiar to what the mainstream is than a Lamar Jackson would be. When you think about a Russell Wilson and the way that he was raised and the way that he communicates and the way that he dresses, also at the time of being drafted, was married to a white woman. And I believe in, I forget what year it was 17 or 18, when confronted with Black Lives Matter, because Michael Bennett had wore a t-shirt, he was very clear that all lives mattered. And so there was really there's never been a pushback on who, there's never been a pushback on who Russell Wilson was. Actually, Richard Sherman was as well. And I want to say this to be clear, none of those are bad things. I don't believe those things are wrong. What I'm saying is those things make you more easily palatable to mainstream media.
You remember the point I made before we played that clip? Russell Wilson more palatable. Easier path, no pushback against Russell Wilson. Oh, Russell Wilson said all lives matter. This is, Ryan Clark is allegedly a Christian. I don't know if there's anything more Christian than all lives matter. But he's not a Christian. He's a race clown. He's there to promote racial division. He's there to portray Russell Wilson as there's something wrong. He's sending out a message to young black men and young black people. If you believe all lives matter, there's something wrong with you. You're not really black. You're a sellout. You're an Uncle Tom. And my entire problem with all of this marketing and messaging, and it's like, black people aren't free. There are gatekeepers. There are people paid to make sure that we all pretty much think the same thing, and that we all reject Christian values for fear of being defined as anti-black. So if you lean into a Christian worldview, all lives matter. If you reject all of the racial idolatry, you're not black. And that's why so many black ministers preach a false religion. They preach racial idolatry because they're more concerned about being aligned with the world, more concerned with making sure everybody thinks they're black rather than everybody thinking they're Christian. And so they preach a racially idolatrous form of Christianity that centers blackness over Jesus Christ. Who would do that? Who would pay for that? Who would install clowns to promote that? Somebody that has a problem with Jesus Christ. It's as clear and obvious as anything. Give me a second. I want to take care of a little more business. I got more to say, though. I'm not done because there's a clip I've been waiting to dive into that really hammers all this home. But I want to talk to you guys about a movie, Brave the Dark. How far will a teacher go to save a kid on the brink of losing everything? From Angel Studios, the studio behind Sound of Freedom comes Brave the Dark, an inspiring true story about a troubled teen struggling to survive in a world that's let him down. Haunted by torturous childhood memories, Nate Williams finds himself engulfed in darkness. When his drama teacher, Mr. Dean, bails him out of jail and takes him in, Nate must confront his past before it leads to his own destruction. Brave the Dark reminds us that one meaningful connection can change everything. This powerful film will leave you uplifted and inspired as it shows the strength of compassion and the impact of never giving up on someone. I encourage you to see Brave the Dark in theaters this Friday. Get your tickets today at angel.com/Jason. That's angel.com/Jason. Brave the Dark, go check it out. There's so few movies that don't violate our worldview that when something like this comes out, we need to hop on it and support it. Angel Studios does a great job. They got another one here in Brave the Dark. Go check it out this weekend. Let me go back to Ryan Clark. And I want to go back to 2020 and his installation as a race clown. And we've already showed you the clip of him talking about his son, Jordan, and this life and death situation he faced at a Whataburger drive-through window when a white woman called him the N-word and scared this young man and two other Arizona State football players within an inch of their life. Ryan Clark made it up in his mind that the woman was going to pull a gun, shoot, and kill them, and that no one was going to do anything about it. She'd walk free, having just a set. Because this happens all the time. I mean, it's in the news all the time. Isn't it about every other week? Don't you hear about a white woman just shooting 3 young black athletes? If not once a week, at least once a month, it's just commonplace.
Especially in a drive-through fast food restaurant.
I nearly saw a white woman, almost shot me over my double filet of fish sandwich 3 or 4 years ago. I had a little of the tartar sauce on the corner of my mouth, and she thought it was something else and nearly pulled a gun and shot and killed me. I was within an inch of my... I'm sorry. I'm with the sarcasm. I got to stop it. But I want to share with you this other clip. This is 2020 Ryan Clark doing the humiliation ritual, going to the next level in pursuit of this contract as a race clown for Bob Iger and Disney. This is a long clip. I'll probably hit pause a few times and jump in a few times. But this is Ryan Clark after, remember Jacob Blake, that poor, innocent ex-con who digitally raped his baby mama, pulled a knife on police, and was unfairly shot by police after pulling a knife on them and putting his kids in harm's way. That Jacob Blake, the guy was in, I believe, law school at the time and was carrying like a 3.9 GPA and was probably going to be the next Johnny Cochran, if not for the police unfairly shooting him after he harassed a woman that he had already sexually violated and had pulled a knife on police. This young man, Jacob Blake, he's paralyzed. He's not dead, but man, Ryan Clark was really shook up. And here's what he had to say. Let's play SOT number 4. And I'm gonna have to interrupt this and call, pause from time to time, but let's sift through this gobbledygook of Ryan Clark. SOT 4.
What people don't understand is that becomes anger. And Kimberly mentioned having uncomfortable conversations. Nah, that's not uncomfortable to have a conversation when you make $40 million a year, when the system is set up for you. It don't matter how much Doc Rivers cries. Jerry Jones is not going to be a billionaire. He's not going to be white. He's not going to have the same friends and run in the same circle that he already does. And, you are right, Greeny. Like, I think Dominique, Kimberly, we all understand that on an individual level, there are good people. There are good white people, black people, Asian, Mexican. Like, we understand that. And then and when Colin Kaepernick began his protest, it wasn't to fix a system that is broken. It was to try to change a system that works perfectly for the people it was built to work for. And when Doc Rivers is crying, that's fear, that's anger, that's hurt, and everything that he says is 100% true. He said he should just get to be a coach, but that's not just his responsibility. His responsibility is to coach. His responsibility is to parent. His responsibility is to teach, is to educate not only other young African Americans, but educate America about what it is to be a black man. And it's not just what it is to be a black man. I got an opportunity to speak at a town hall here locally last week. And, I was supposed to be, one of the speakers that people could listen to and that people could ask questions to. And I ended up moving off the panel to the side to listen to other activists, to listen to other people who have dedicated their lives to pushing the plight of black people in America forward. And what I learned was there's a different level of hurt, of murder, of evil, of discrimination, of racism, just within the black community, right? We can talk about black men get treated a certain way, black women, the most devalued gender or people on this earth, who are always standing for black men, who are always taking care of them, but yet are undervalued or devalued at every opportunity that people get. For black trans women to be dying at an alarming rate, but nobody's talking about it. Like that's the entire thing. Like
when I say delusional, when I say feminine, when I say matriarchal, when I say the worship of black women, women in general, this is what I'm talking about. And this isn't hypercriticism of Ryan Clark, because this is a massive, pervasive culture that is taught in the church and is taught everywhere. The worship of black women. It's not scripturally sound. It goes against the patriarchy. It's just something we've made up and have bought into. Oh, black women, everything they're doing is for black men. Really? You been to divorce court? Really? And this isn't me trying to demonize women, because I'm not. It's me trying to say black men and many white men, we've abandoned the responsibility of leadership. And we're now worshipers of women. We should worship Jesus Christ and follow his lead, fear and obey him. But this worship of women, it's not biblical, and it does not lead to success. The results are in. You hear me talk about it on this show. We've gone through 60 years of worshiping women. I'm talking about black people. Look at our kids. Don't look at your individual kid. Don't look at one or two, this person or that person is successful. Go check the overall data. What level are our kids reading at? What's our graduation rate? What's our marriage rate? What's our illegitimacy rate? What percentage of young black men are ending up incarcerated? And what they want you to believe, which is a lie, all those things are because the white man, the white evangelical man, has destroyed you and has rigged up a system where your kids can't read, they can't avoid incarceration, they can't get married. And what I'm telling you is, and this is the facts, and these are the facts. If mama and daddy don't get married and raise them kids together, these are the results you're going to get. I don't care who's in charge. It don't matter who, if Donald Trump's the president or Barack Obama's the president. If our marriage rate remains this low and our illegitimacy rate with kids remains this high, your kids are not going to be able to read. Your kids are going to have gender identity issues. Your kids are going to end up incarcerated. They're not going to graduate from high school, and they're not going to pursue marriage in holiness. They're going to make the most demonic music ever known to man. And their women are going to twerk to it. These are facts. Ryan Clark doesn't know that. And he thinks if we just worship women more and just abandon our responsibility to be leaders and to get those women to follow us as we follow God. We don't want that responsibility. We want, that's the white man, it's racism, it's the white man. That's a cop-out. That's an avoidance of responsibility. That's placing the white man as your God and as the controller of your destiny. And Ryan Clark so wants that bag of money that Bob Iger and Disney has to offer. He's willing to go on national TV and start caping up for black trans women. How many does he know? Because I keep hearing about this murder rate for black trans women, and the only funerals I get invited to are black men that are dying through murder, poor health, whatever. But I haven't. Maybe I just don't. I don't run in the right crowd, or I don't run in that crowd where I'm being invited to black trans women that are dying in massive numbers. Maybe me and Ryan Clark got two different groups we run in, or maybe he just read the stat and someone told him to say it, and so he said it. Does he believe it? Does he know what he's saying? Continue with the clip.
That's the entire thing. Like, we're just talking about social justice. We're talking about being able to stop a fight and go check on your children, right? But we're not talking about being able to walk into a church in South Carolina and kill 9 black people. We're not talking about being pissed off about having to wear a mask, shooting an AK-47 at cops, and being subdued and taken in for your day at court. See, we don't get those opportunities. And so when we don't get those opportunities, you're damn right we're fearful. But we're also angry, and we're also hurt. And when the Detroit Lions get together and they make a protest, because don't get it confused. What the NBA doing is a demonstration, right? Now the organizations have taken control of the demonstrations, of the protests, and now they're saying, we will allow you to do this. Which is why we don't talk about what happens pregame anymore, because what happens pregame anymore, we're used to. What happens pregame now is like, oh, okay, they can do this. Y'all can do this. Y'all can have this. The reason we're talking about what Doc Rivers did, because it was real, because it was from his heart. The reason we're talking about what the Detroit Lions did, because it was a step away from the normal, and because the normal is black people getting shot and us continuing to live life. That's the normal. The normal is me having this conversation I had with you guys about Jordan early on in the year, and still having to have the conversation now and relive it, because y'all were trying to get me to tell the story so people understood what it was like to be a black father that had a black child who was dealing with being called the N-word, who was dealing with racism, who people were threatening to weaponize the police in hopes that people would stop killing black people, understand what's going on, and actually give some freaking help. But what you ain't seen is that the people that ain't gonna change.
Can someone in the chat somewhere anyway, what did he just say? What is he saying? He's just saying anything. And there's no standard. And this is all intentional. This is how Stephen A. gets to be at the top of ESPN. He's a race clown. There's no standard of excellence, no standard of common sense, no standard of logic. It doesn't have to make sense. All you have to do is be willing to say they racist and we're victims. And the black woman is the greatest thing that ever happened on the planet Earth. We've seen, you've heard me talk about it with Shannon Sharpe when he was over at Fox Sports, and Jamie Horowitz gave Shannon Sharpe the role of being a race clown. And he performed that role, and there was a big bag of money. An opportunity. And now Shannon Sharpe went through the same process that Ryan Clark is going through, and Shannon Sharpe now has clubs, and he's doing something completely different now. He quit the role that he had to play for 5-6 years under Jamie Horowitz's direction or game plan, because Jamie Horowitz ended up getting fired. But he played that race clown role and went on TV every day, acting ghetto, saying stupid stuff, and he got a big bag of money, and now he's got an even bigger audience and a bigger bag now because he went through that process of playing the race clown. And that's where the money is. It so cracks me up when people say, oh, you're a right-wing grifter and blah, blah, blah. And everybody knows the money is in the left. It's not in the right. Beyonce got $10 million for showing up at a Kamala Harris event. Did anybody on the right get $10 million just for showing up at an event? They gave Roland Martin, what did they give him, $750,000 or $1 million? I can't remember. They were passing out money. The woman spent $1 billion or more passing out checks to people to come and pretend to be her friend. And they keep arguing, oh, it's the grifting's on the right. They're passing out paychecks on the right, left, and right. It's just not true. Now, look, I'm not saying there's no money on the right. But where the real money is in playing this role Ryan Clark is playing. And that's why he's playing it so well and so passionately, and why others are doing it. I didn't call for the clip, but at some point, you know, Ryan Clark in one of his deals started talking about Dave Chappelle and the respect he has for Dave Chappelle. It's a, you know, Ryan Clark routinely tapes these dramatic videos where he tries to come off like he's so thoughtful. And it's like, hey man, who's backing Ryan Clark and the pivot and everything that he's doing? People are financing and paying for that. This isn't some organic thing. This is a design. This is what Cat Williams is talking about. And when I saw Ryan Clark mention Dave Chappelle and how much respect he has for Dave Chappelle, I'm like, really? What you and Dave Chappelle got in common? Really? Dave Chappelle, you know, he's in conflict with the people that are paying you to be a race clown. It's constant. He keeps picking at them. But you are Dave Chappelle, and you have the ultimate respect for Dave Chappelle. What's the, you got respect for Kanye? You got respect for Kyrie Irving? Really? I mean, or are you following the new? I don't know if you're doing what you're told. I want to play one more clip, and I think I'm out of breath. I want to play SOT number 15, just to circle it all the way back to Lamar Jackson and Ryan Clark, and why Ryan Clark is doing what he's doing. And again, it's his job to turn, you got to keep it, football is the number one driver of conversation in popular culture. And they want to use football the way they use the rest of popular culture. All the movies on Netflix that have that racial agenda or the gay agenda or whatever. They want to use football in the same way. And so they got to have someone controlling the quarterback conversation who's a racial idolater and who will promote racial division, a racially divisive conversation about the NFL and the quarterback position. So here's Michelle Tafoya asking Ryan Clark about Lamar and being unique. Play SOT 15.
Right. And so to me, it's never about just color. It's about understanding. It's about having an opportunity to show that just because it looks different, just because it sounds different, just because it's unfamiliar at the point, it doesn't make it bad. And I think for me, that's my reason for feeling that Lamar Jackson is so important, because it doesn't look the same, because it doesn't sound the same, because he doesn't dress the same way, because he does, and you may not ever see it, when I post something of Lamar and saying how great he is as a player, and the numbers of white tweeters or white people that slide up, oh, that illiterate quarterback, that can't talk, right? And so all of those things, and I believe that Lamar can talk. His dialect is just more centered, and it is learned from where he's from. And so I think those sorts of pushbacks for me make it all important for him to be able to win, first for himself, but yes, for other black quarterbacks who will come after Lamar Jackson, who are extremely similar.
So Ryan Clark is doing all of this for the black quarterbacks that talk ghetto. Let's just say what he's legitimately saying. If, the dialect is a little more urban, this is important for kids that don't speak proper English. The kids are from the South. Well, he's doing all this so that they feel like they have a representative. And hey, look, you don't have to conform to any norms. This is, remember earlier this week or late last week when we talked about Michelle Obama, and it was in People magazine, and someone close to her said, hey, Michelle Obama doesn't care about standards, traditions, or expectations, something along those lines. And I said, like, her energy and the whole message that's being pushed to black women and to black people, no respect for traditions and norms and expectations and any standard of behavior. Disrupt everything. That's what Ryan Clark feels is his job, to disrupt everything and establish new norms. And I made the connection, I made the point, like, well, hold on, man, what is Christianity? What is a biblical worldview? We're trying to promote standards and expectations, and we're trying to be respectful of traditions and norms. And so Ryan Clark is saying, nope, let's disrupt everything. And I'm saying that's unbiblical. And I'm saying it's not in our best interest. And I'm saying that, again, I like Lamar Jackson. I want Lamar Jackson to speak in a way that's easier to understand. That's what I want. And I don't dislike Lamar Jackson because he speaks in a strong Southern urban dialect. But I know he could do better. And I know that speaking proper English that everyone can understand easily doesn't diminish his blackness. And I don't think it's important that we normalize or establish that, hey, no, everybody's going to speak their own different dialect, and it may be difficult for other people to understand, but you just got to because that path is why let's make sure you got to be bilingual and speak Spanish. And everybody just gets to bring if I'm Irish or if I'm from Somalia, everybody's just got to understand the way that I talk. No, I want you to sound I want there to be a standard for how Americans speak and talk. That doesn't diminish my blackness. I'm an American. I can master the English language. There's nothing wrong with that. Because I'm not that smart. I've told y'all repeatedly, and I'm not lying. If I can master the English language, or I wouldn't even call it master, but if I can become proficient in the English language, so can Lamar Jackson and so can everybody else. That's the standard. But when they start talking about they want to normalize or they want to disrupt, they want to change, blah, blah, that's how we get to, hey, coaches now can have 3, 4 baby mamas. Let's normalize it. Coaches can now be 70 years old with a 24-year-old girlfriend. Let's normalize it. I don't want to normalize all that. I want a standard. Most people want a standard. Most people want to align along shared values and shared standards of behavior. I don't want to live next door to someone who plays loud rap music that's cursing and profane. I don't want to normalize that, and we have normalized that. I don't want to normalize our biggest influencers and celebrities are profane and highly immoral and promote degeneracy. I don't want to normalize. We've done that. It hasn't improved things. Bob Iger, Disney, they want degeneracy and stupidity everywhere. So they promote and develop people like Ryan Clark. I think that's all I want to say on that. Butter, I do want us to take a few minutes here to tell people about what we're going to do tomorrow with Listen or Lose, a new game we're going to play here every Friday at Opportunity. For those of you that want to acquire some Bitcoin, we've partnered with the Fold app. Foldapp.com/Whitlock is where I would direct everyone to go. But tomorrow we're going to play this game, Listen or Lose, and we're going to do it every Friday, probably in the second hour of the show, sometime between 11 and 12 o'clock Central Time. We're going to invite 3 or 4 listeners on the show, hit them with some trivia questions about what transpired on the show this week. Questions will be humorous. It'll be multiple choice. Whoever gets the most right, the Fold app is going to give them $100 in Bitcoin. Best way to get on is to email Butter at LOL-on-fearless.
That's right.
At Gmail.
LOL-on-fearless@gmail.com.
Sign up for the Fold app. Would help you get on if you're...
Go to that, go to the foldapp.com
/Whitlock.
Sign up, go to the app. It's real easy to do. Get your referral code, that's another way to get our attention.
Yes.
We're still taking guests to sign up for tomorrow's show. It's exciting. We're going to do this.
I got the Fold app. I'm getting into Bitcoin. I'm late. You're probably late getting into Bitcoin. But the Fold app is going to get us there in a fun way, in a participatory way. You want to come on the show, interact, engage with me. Again, hit Butter up, LOL-on-fearless@gmail.com. Those of you that already hit us at Fearless Blaze Show, we've got you. We're not ignoring you. But anybody that wants to try to get in this week, next week, the week after that, LOL-on-fearless@gmail.com. Again, go to the Fold app. .com/Whitlock, become a member of the Fold community, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow, some of you, 3 or 4 of you, on tomorrow's show as we play Listen or Lose. Shamika, I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all this moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I just want, I wanna be. I just want, I wanna be. I just want, I wanna be. I just